Hey guys, what a great year 2025 has been. I don't know where it went. It's been so busy, such a great year. We have followed pretty faithfully our NCS 2025 Songwriting Challenge Guide. We have prepared an NCS 2026 Songwriting Challenge Guide. We're going to be announcing and making available to you very, very soon. So be watching your emails and give us some feedback. Let us know how it hits you, how you like it. If you participated in 25, I think you're going to really love 26. We've had some amazing podcast guests dating all the way back to Leanna Crawford, to Galen Crew, to Clark Beckham, to Michael Lee Brown. So many great guests, and we've got a lot more coming at you in this brand new year. Thank you for being with us. We love you. We appreciate you. And we're going to be closing out this year with one of my dear friends. I've been working with Niki Lou Savich for the last 6 years, and we tell her whole story. She's a brilliant woman. She was an international model. She was a poet, became a songwriter, connected with us here at NCS, and now she's got 2 albums out that are just amazing. So anyway, thanks for being here, and I want to introduce you to Niki Lou Savich. My guest today is a dear, dear friend. She showed up in one of our retreats about 6 years ago. She was a poet. She'd been an international model, a caregiver, a therapist, and had worn so many other hats in her life. And when she found God bringing songs out of her life, she didn't know what to do. She looked up Nashville Christian Songwriters, came to a retreat, and now 6 years later, she is an artist. And her first album came out a couple of years ago called Million Tears, Niki Lou Savich. And then now she has a brand new record called My Offering. So you will love my dear friend, my sweet, sweet friend, Niki Lou Savich. Hi, Niki Lou.
Hi, John.
You know, when we first met, you were just Niki. And now you've morphed into a beautiful Americana folk bluegrass artist named Niki Lou Savich. So, yes. Wow, what a transformation you've been through these last few years.
Yes.
What if we kind of go back to the beginning and you talk about when you wandered into our very first retreat?
Okay. I was, as John had already said, a poet, especially when I would feel deeply about things. And one day, after reading a book that really impacted me, I sat down to write my poem, and it came out in a total song structure and shocked me. I wasn't thinking about doing that. It had never crossed my mind, and that actually kept happening. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what this is about, but I think I need to go to a workshop and just, for fun, learn how to really craft a song. And at this point, because of going from poetry to that, it was just lyrics. I really didn't have melodies going through my head. But I looked up online, what workshops can I go to, and saw Nashville Christian Songwriters. And this is about 6 years ago. Was able to come down to the workshop and bring my first 3 little songs that I wrote and tried to think of melodies for. And just absolutely fell in love with songwriting. It was just so wonderful. And after that, I couldn't wait to do more and was so happy to find out that you actually then continued with coaching and groups or one-on-one, and one-on-one's more my speed. And so we were on Zoom meetings for, I don't know, over a year, like 15 or 16 months after that. And for privacy's sake, because I lived with my family, I would be in my car at Starbucks using their Wi-Fi and going over my song critiques with you, John. And so
I remember it well. And she, Indiana,
yes.
Right? And it was cold, and she would be sitting outside Starbucks bundled up, hats and gloves and the windshield would be iced over by the time we were finished. But she was scabbing off of Starbucks internet for our sessions. But we had a lot of fun. Those are quite memorable sessions, actually.
Absolutely.
And so I just saw such a beautiful heart and soul in Niki, and she was really trying to transition over from poetry, which poetry is beautiful, and I write poetry occasionally. That's where I started as a child, actually, but because of my songwriting career, I haven't done a whole lot of it. But I saw such a beautiful spirit in Niki, and it was really challenging in some ways because you were not a musician per se,
Right.
and so you were kind of struggling through the structure, like you said, of your lyric writing, and we worked really hard on that with the one-on-one sessions. And I think before we pick up on the story from there, one of the things I've been so fascinated with about you is you've worn so many different hats. You did a specific kind of therapy for a while, which all I know is you massage people's brains and such. But and then you became a caretaker. Well, you were a model and did modeling. And you were in catalogs. You did formal wear. You had a big formal wear ad. And tell us a little bit about your background, just because I want people just to know that you're such a diverse human being. You're so deeply talented and lovely. And tell us a little bit about those years leading up to our coaching, and then what happened after that.
Okay. Actually, of all those hats that John mentioned, is the first was modeling. And I was at a point in my life where my health was very low. I didn't have energy or strength to give to a boss to say, hey, I can do this job and, I can work this 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week. So the only thing I could think to do was to model. And I always loved photography. So I knew some photographers, and I was trying to learn about photography, and they're always wanting to stick me in front of the camera, because it's like they wanted to practice shooting a model. And so that was really kind of a neat way that God slipped that into my ideas. Like, well, hey, maybe I should really try modeling. And I did that for several years. It was a lot of fun. I was older as I started modeling, but I got to travel a little bit. And
What, did about 11 years?
I did it full time for probably about, 5 or 6 years.
Oh, okay.
And then that's when I decided, well, I am an older model. And older models think of some secondary job that they can do. So when you stop getting called for those jobs, you have something to fall back on. And what I went to school for was natural therapeutics and massage therapy and that sort of thing. And that was another really wonderful thing because it helped me to work on my own health and become healthier through that. And then I was modeling on the side from that. And then after a lot of years, it got into, about 20 years ago, I ended up moving back up to Indiana. I had been living other places, and my grandparents were up there, and wondered what the next stage of my life would be. I was still kind of doing both of those things, but at that point, the elders in the family started getting sick, falling and breaking a hip or having a surgery, and they needed caregiving. And I thought, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. So God really just kind of eased me into every stage and, blessed me to do very different things that helped me to grow as a person and as a Christian as well, and hopefully have been a blessing to others. And that caregiving continued on until 2021. Actually, and by that point, I had already started taking my classes with John and gotten into the songwriting, and was totally just a hobby still at that point. But in 2021, sadly, my caregiving ended because my parents both passed.
Within 6 weeks of each other.
Yeah, yeah. So needless to say, I had lots of fodder for my songs that I ended up writing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember the aftermath of that because we weren't coaching at the time. You'd finished your coaching, and we were friends, and we would touch base, and I knew what was going on. But when you ended your 15 months of one-on-one, you had grown a lot as a songwriter, but it didn't seem to have a lot of direction because you weren't an artist at that point. That hadn't even really entered your mind. It hadn't entered mine. You haven't been an upfront on-stage singer. You've done praise team things, worship leading, but not as the front person, nor had you ever been in the studio to record, right?
That's right.
And so it wasn't that you had already, or from the beginning had thought, oh, I'm going to be an artist someday. That wasn't on the plate at all. And then after your parents passed away so closely together, which that's amazing, and you then at some point contacted me, or I reached out to you because we were doing something that you were going to be part of, and you started bringing these songs. I think Home was the first one I heard, and then Million Tears, which is the title of your first album, and I was blown away. It was like, oh my gosh, who are you and what have you done with Nikki? Because it's like the change in your tone, the focus of these songs, outright laments, and laments are biblical. God has a grieving process that we go through when we experience loss, and you were in the deepest throes of it, but these songs were coming out of you that were just insane. They were like, it was like suddenly you turned into this Appalachian woman churning butter on the cabin porch, and singing these Cajun songs. Well, I just mixed metaphors there with Cajun and Appalachian, but let me read one. Dry as bone, all my tears ever flowed, dry as bone, dry as bone. River deep in my soul, dry as bone, dry as bone. Only God can truly know all my troubles here below. Where my tears forever flow, dry as bone, dry as bone. Only God can understand why my sorrows never end, and my tears forever flow, dry as bone. And the little bridge, you keep all the tears my heart could ever hold. Keep them in your bottle, turn them all to liquid gold. Whew, that's so good. And then kind of a straight-up bluegrass song, Valley of Shadow and Light. In the valley of shadow and light, I can already see beyond the night. Wrapped in darkness like a cover, heaven's closer than a brother. Oh, I'm longing to be on the other side. There's a river that runs deep and wide, between shadow and light, a great divide. And across that dark, cold water, I see mother, I see father. Oh, they're waiting for me on the other side. I can hear angels start to sing a lullaby. I love this song, one of my favorite. It's kind of sad and fun at the same time. Let me do a better job of reading that. I can hear angels, this is the chorus. I can hear angels start to sing a lullaby as I go to sleep. One last time I will close my eyes in the valley of shadow and light. Girl, that's strong writing. I know we worked a lot on these together. I was coaching you, but all of this flowed out of your own soul, out of your spirit. You can hear the poetic quality, and yet they're classic. Every one of them, it's like, could have been written maybe in the 30s or 40s or something. It's like you just channel some kind of old soul in your writing. Let me read one more, and then maybe we can talk about them. But Million Tears, an elegy for your dad. I will weep my million tears for you until eternity rolls down, lifting me into the arms of God, where tears no longer will be found. He will wipe them all away one by one, while speaking healing to my soul. Weeping of this world's long darkest night wakes to the morn of heaven's joy. Oh, wow. Girl, I mean, that's just world-class lyric writing and poetry. They're definitely poetic, and yet, we were able to work them. You were already working very well with song structure by the time you were writing these. And if I can make one more comment here, I'm talking too much, but what I believe happened is that, of course, there are no surprises to God, and you went through the training with me. We had a break, and then when your folks passed, you had you had the form, you had the training, you had the skills, and your grief came out in such powerful ideas, titles, lyrics. And then we worked on them. That's fine. And then I walked with you through the whole recording process.
Yes.
And to tell you the truth, you were pretty much the genesis of our artist development program. We didn't have it then, and you needing the help, wanting the help, being in a season of life where you could invest in it and go forward. It was my great privilege to walk you through the process, and now to have these two amazing albums. So I see that God so providentially connected us and then got you the training so that when you needed to process, these beautiful songs were the result.
Absolutely.
And it's one more funny thing about lament is it's encouraging.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that for us, what the process was like for you as you were grieving and writing and coaching, and then we went into recording and all that. I mean, just kind of open up your heart a little bit about that whole process.
Okay. As most people know, grieving can be just really kind of messy and chaotic. It's like you're just spinning and the universe around you spinning, and nothing really makes sense except you just know you're hurt and you're sad and you don't know when you're going to land on your feet again and how long that's going to take. So being able to craft songs to capture that and put it in the most eloquent way that you can is so cathartic for yourself, and also just bonus, you're lifting up the person that you're missing. You're lifting them up and immortalizing them, so to speak, and presenting such a beautiful picture of your grief and your love for that person or what you're going through in the grieving process, that it just feels something solid and good, and it feels like ground under your feet. Just for that, just for that song, it's something that is not only healing in the moment for that song, but it's like a step toward it. Every song is a step toward that. And actually, when we were recording this album, I was still writing laments, and had another half to 2/3 of another album. But after that, I could tell that my songs were turning more toward worship, actually, and my eyes were lifting from more of the horizontal up to just the vertical. And I have a lot of those songs that have yet to be recorded, Lord willing. But just seeing that process and how it was healing for me, and the hope of my heart was that getting them out to other people would be healing for other people, that they could just grab onto that and say, oh yes, I can identify with that song or that song. And, and sometimes people identify with songs in such a different circumstance that it's surprising. One of my songs, Hardest Goodbye, is a lot about sitting by my mom. Her passing was longer. My dad was sudden and unexpected. And someone shared with me, a dear friend shared with me at church, that when he listens to it, that song just moves him and touches him because his wife is going into dementia and maybe Alzheimer's. And so it's that kind of a losing. And wow. It was a blessing to think that he could take that song and apply it to his own heart, and that it blessed him. That was such a blessing to me.
Wow. And knowing that song, I could see how the Alzheimer's would be a true kind of situation to apply that song.
Yes.
Yeah, as you lose someone, even though they're still physically alive and they're taken away from you, it's very tragic.
Yes.
Wow. Well, so talk a little bit, if you will, about how the production process was for you. I'm sure it was scary. We walked together through the first one for
scary.
sure.
It was terrifying.
But we were able to secure Gordon Moat, BMI Music Row Musician of the Year many times, and such an incredibly talented man. He's traveled with Alison Krauss, a big name with the Gaithers on their Homecoming series. And talk about the transition from writer to artist and how that kind of went down. Even before the production, you had to kind of go through a bit of a mental transformation to wanting to sing these and even believing in yourself that you could.
Right. I'm so grateful for you, John, because I don't think it would ever have crossed my mind. My idea was, wow, I have all these songs that I really love in my notebook. I hope somebody finds them someday and makes some really great songs out of them and, gets them out there. But you believed in me before I even had the idea in my own head about becoming an artist. And you put those seeds in my mind, and planted those seeds, I should say, and encouraged me, but not just to run out there and spend a bunch of money and do that. But it was more of let's just see. Let's just see how this goes. Why don't we just get you with a vocal coach and we can just take it, and see. And then if you want, we can still record them. Somebody else can sing them. And so you didn't ever, make me feel pressured or like, oh, it's all or nothing. You were just helping me to see an opportunity and a way to proceed forward. And my heart was saying, oh, wow, maybe my songs can really get out on my notebook. They can get out there. And it was so wonderful. So as I started working with a vocal coach and continuing with you, and you started telling me kind of about the process and, what it would mean, but you didn't overwhelm me with everything in the beginning. It was just a kind of a step-by-step thing. Can't recommend the program enough. It was just so wonderful. And it's really neat to see how God was just really working in me and growing me in that vein. But then I've been watching you and how God has been opening doors and opportunities for you too. And talk about a lot of hats. You've worn a lot of hats through this process. You were the songwriting coach, and something that we kind of skipped over. But I just want to say that year before we kind of reconnected, after we finished our coaching, and after my parents had passed, you'd become a dear friend, and I had told you what was happening. And through that year, you called and you checked on me, and you were praying with me, and you were praying for me, and you really had the pastor hat on. You just really ministered to my soul. And that was the next thing after songwriting coach that you became. And then as we got into this process, and you took on the mantle of trying to help somebody who had no clue that this was coming in her life to become an artist, just managing and coaching in another way and mentoring. And a lot of these things, you still, I look up to you as a pastor, and I still look up to you as a mentor, and I still value your opinion on my songs when I bring them to you. So you still wear a lot of hats with me.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for that, Niki. And it has been just such a joy to see your grief blossom into beautiful artistry. And it's not self-serving. Even though this is born from your grief, it's not, you've never had the attitude that this is to bring attention to yourself. You're one of the most humblest. Is that right? You're the most humble, one of the most humble people. You're the humblest to infinitude and beyond. But you're definitely a very humble person, and it was never been to draw attention to yourself. And you didn't, from what I could tell, it was such a leap to believe in yourself that you could go into the studio and pull these things off. And even in the studio, I remember some hand-holding moments where, it's like, okay,
freak out moments.
Just breathe, Niki, just breathe. You're going to be fine. And okay, so what if it takes a dozen, takes to get a, one line? It's okay. You're not the only one that goes through that. So there is some, leaping off the ledge moments, but you rose to it and you were determined, and along with being one of the humblest people, you're one of the most tenacious people that I've ever met. There's that combination of tenacity, a quiet strength and dependence on God, not a strength in yourself, but I think what I see is you're almost like a biblical character, because God,
at least a character,
God, a character for sure. But it's like you're like one of the characters that that is very weak and not the typical pick. Like I think of David, he was the scrawniest little guy of all the brothers, and yet God raised him up to be the king. We can think of a lot of Moses himself, but God uses the weak to confound the strong, and those who might not seem so wise to confound the wise. And you're a great example of that. And you've always been so teachable and hungry, and yet tenacious, and you wouldn't give up. And I love that. I wish everyone we worked with could have those qualities, because that's what wins, I believe. And so now you have these two amazing albums out. I wish Cracker Barrel still had their stores, because aren't they gone?
No, they have them.
Do they still have them?
And they sell CDs.
Oh, your CD should be in every Cracker Barrel in the world. I mean, you are like the quintessential artist, and you're not in your 20s anymore. You're seasoned, immature. You're not as far along as I am, but you're such a beautiful example of someone God can use. And if I could figure out how to get these in Cracker Barrel, I think it'd sell 1 million, because your music just hits that kind of middle America, good salt of the earth, solid songs, lots of heart, lots of inspiration there. So,
Thank you.
God, we pray for an opening to Cracker Barrel in Jesus' name.
Amen.
That would be so awesome. You guys pray for that, okay? And if any of you know anybody at Cracker Barrel Corporate, connect me, okay? But anyway, it's just such a beautiful story. So now, I want to be very up front. I mean, you're such a beautiful example of what we do in our programs, and thank you for the kudos you've given us in the show today. But there's still a lot of work to be done. You have the music now, and you've been faced with the reality of competing with a zillion songs every day that are being released. How do you tour? How do you get your music out there? Where do you feel you are? What have you learned? What could you share with anyone that's listening today, watching us today, who might feel God tugging on them to take some steps toward writing, coaching, writing, and production and release? What have you learned, and what would you share?
Wow. God kind of just had a blindfold on me, and every once in a while he'd take it off, and I'd find myself in a new place. And I think the first thing I would say is to be that pliable clay and to just let God lead you. If he's given you poetry and all of a sudden it turns to songwriting, or if you just write songs and you play guitar, or you just always wanted to pick up an old guitar at the resale shop and learn how to play it, just go with it and see what God will do. Because if you give it back to him and you just do it first of all for his glory, and just give him thanks that he brought you something joyful to do, there's no telling what he will do with that. Getting into it, and then actually then having a responsibility to then promote yourself and do that sort of thing. He still has his hands all over every step, but you have to keep that surrender to him. You never pick up the ball and say, "Okay, I got this, God." I'm gonna go now and punt myself, or whatever you do with the football.
I don't
run it across the finish line.
Now. Let's don't go to sports.
I'll start mixing sports. But I would just say, be surrendered to God and just ask him what he would do with it. And then whatever he brings for your next step, I have a lot of different people helping me in the different things. I have somebody that helps me with social media, because I didn't even have a smartphone until I had to for this. I had my old flip phone.
I know. I dealt with that flip phone forever. It's like, Nikki, come on. Come into this century with the phone, please.
Yes. So I had a lot of learning curves that were outside the music, but God always brought me somebody to help. And now I have somebody helping me with posting things on social media, and, posting often enough, but not so often that I make people sick of me. But, just trying to keep people up with what I'm doing. And I do believe that the next thing is to get out and sing in front of people. But right now, that's just my church. I'm singing a couple Sundays we're having a progressive Christmas program. It's going to go over 4 weeks at our church. And so a couple Sundays I'm going to sing. This Sunday, though, I'm heading back up to Lafayette, Indiana. I'm going to have another CD listening party with my church up there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so I get to talk and tell my stories about the songs. And so, but I would love to do some writers' rounds. I've found out, though, that I'm kind of stuck at this, and I don't know if it's just me thinking it's the next thing to do or if it's God's will, but I'm thinking if I'm going to go out and really perform live, I need a band. I need at least a guitar player or maybe a banjo player or something like that. I just don't know if that's what God wants, how he's going to, move me forward with that. But that's kind of where I'm at with that. Just, again, surrendering that to him, seeing what he has to say, and meanwhile, just being faithful with singing in church to my tracks.
Right. That's beautiful. All you need is a guitarist. You could do everything that you have written here with just a guitar and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
You get a banjo and a fiddle player, that'd be even better. But, but you can do what you need with a guitar.
Anybody out there know anybody?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, we got your connection here. Yeah, absolutely. But, you're such a wonderful example of what we've done in our artist development program. And like I said, you really were the genesis. You were what pushed me over into okay, God, God's working on me too, during the whole process, and then helping me really kind of see things that I'm strong at, things that I'm, not so strong at. And, you ask a zillion questions. You were the question queen. And I'd lay awake at night and be like, oh God, please don't let Nikki ask me something I don't know. It's like, please, but I wanted to be the total answer guy. But, it forced me to grow up and really mature in some ways and kind of reconnect with some things I knew from my big music days when I worked for the two major companies, Gaithers and then Integrity. So that was really good for me, and God really used it to push us over the edge here at NCS to start a bona fide artist development program. And now we have actually 2 levels. We have a 3-month program, a 12-week, 90-day program where we combine the business side because of so much I had to go in and figure out with you. Our partner is Kevin McNeese at NRT, and he's a lovely guy, right? Oh,
a dear friend too. Yes.
And so he teaches. He has a curriculum for how to really build your business around your music, and we do the production. Getting ready to produce, and we do all the songwriting, the messaging, who you are as an artist, kind of the artistic creative side of it, all the song coaching and co-writing. We offer that in that program. But we've recently signed Clark Beckham, who was on American Idol season 14. Should have won. He was a runner-up. We don't even know who the winner was that year because Clark should have been the winner. But we now have a 6-month program where our clients get to interact with Clark in vocal performance and in stage presence and performance, really. And then we still work with all the other elements, Kevin McNeese, that material as well as production. We had that 6-month program. We actually wind up producing 3 songs, so it's kind of changing and morphing for us as well. But you were there at the very beginning of it, and we're just so proud, in a godly way, of you, and just wish you all the best, Niki Lou. Thanks so much for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I just really can't have enough shout-outs and kudos for you and for NCS. Y'all have meant a lot to me, still do, and always will.
Thank you, Niki. We wish you the best.
And you too.
So what I want you to do, guys, is go, who has CDs anymore, but Niki has 2 incredible CDs. You can find all of this on Spotify. The first album, Million Tears, the second one, My Offering. It's just amazing music. So go over to her social channels, look up Niki Lou Savich, go to Spotify, Amazon, wherever you consume your music, and please like and share and love on Niki. for all that she's been through and all that she's done and all that God's doing through her life. I guarantee you this is amazing music and you're going to really love it. Even if you don't think you're a bluegrass, folk, Americana fan, I think you're going to really enjoy this music. Go check out some songs and give her some love. And also, if you're interested in the NCS Artist Development Program, either our basic or the one with Clark Beckham, a 3-month or 6-month program, go over to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com, look at the coaching link in the nav bar, and scroll down to Artist Development, and you can begin reading about it. There's a no-obligation application form. You can fill that out, and I'll be the one getting back to you to talk and just see what you're up to, and if we're a good fit together to have the kind of experience that Niki Lou and so many of our other artists have experienced here with NCS. Check out the NCS Collective because we showcase Niki and so many others there at the NCS Collective page. Thanks for being here with us on the show. Again, like and share our show if you're finding meaning and value, and be sure to tune in next week. And we're going to be launching Season 4 in January 2026. We look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again to Niki Lou, and thanks to you. Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you got some value, please help us share the love. Leave a like and a share and a good review. Be sure to check out everything that we have to offer you at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time.